Hey guys, King of Charmass here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today I bring to you the Umbreon XL with Psychic because Community Day is coming soon. Well, not soon, but Community Day is coming, and next month it's going to be Eevee, and Umbreon's going to get Psychic. If you're watching this video, you probably already know a thing or two about Umbreon because this is going to be Umbreon Psychic for Ultra Premier. Compared to Open Ultra League, it's actually a lot more interesting. So, buckle up because hopefully we're not going to crash. Well, it's gonna crash because Umbreon with Psychic is actually really interesting, like I mentioned. Now again, I'm not gonna go too deep into this. You'll all know, well, most of you know if you're watching this video because Ultra Premier, you're semi-invested into Go Battle League or you're a former legend / trying to get to legend. So you already know Umbreon's a super tank. Umbreon is weak to Bug, Fairy, and Fighting, but it also resists Psychic, Dark, and Ghost. All those types are very prevalent in Ultra Premier Cup, and it's very interesting because there's a lot more targets for Umbreon with Psychic rather than Last Resort. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, so here's the rankings for Ultra Premier. It's always good to compare the old rankings to probably the newer rankings, but as you see, Umbreon is at number 40 XL for Ultra Premier Cup. Yeah, if you're watching this video, you probably already have one. The reason why it's so good, it does really good against the Ghost Archetyping, takes out all of the elementals, and it basically just blasts, or not all the elementals, but like basically all the elemental starters, except for Empoleon at certain ranges, and it's just really, really tanky. As you see, its best position is as a switch, but it can be good in any position just because, again, it's so tanky. Outside of seeing a Charmer or a Fighter, this thing will absolutely do work, and it can take a few charge moves out while it's at it. But Ultra Premier Cup, if you haven't seen an Ultra Premier Cup Umbreon, you're going to be in for a rude awakening because you're probably going to see a lot more just because everyone like me is going to start creating content, or they're going to literally, there's going to be a foul, like, I try to make a joke, but I don't want to make it because it's actually really bad. So anyways, let's get started on the Matrix. Alrighty, so here's Ultra Premier Cup Umbreon with Psychic Matrix. This is probably the part you all skip to. I want to get to this one and spend more time on this analysis rather than the intro because, again, if this instance is Ultra Premier Cup, you probably already know about it, or you're not very likely new to Go Battle League. As you see here, we have level 50 Umbreon. I also have level 51 Umbreon. And then we put Umbreon with Last Resort just in case. It compels you to get an Umbreon with the highest stats as possible. So hopefully you have an Eevee or a perfect Eevee lined up ready to evolve when Community Day comes around. As you see, we have the Ultra Premier Cup meta to the right. Got the 2 shield, gonna run it. As you see here, it's actually really interesting. What you flip as far as Psychic goes is really the poison type. So with Umbreon and the 2 shield, you can beat Crobat, you can also beat Dragaggle. Dragaggle with Dragon Tail has run rampant in Ultra Premier Cup, and in Ultra Premier Cup, it's really freaking good. And as you see here, Umbreon does destroy it with Psychic. Psychic will obliterate a Dragaggle in the 2 shield. Psychic also gives you the chance to flip a lot of the other poison types as well. As you see here, Crobat, not a lot of people are going to use Crobat for Ultra Premier Cup, but it's still really, really good. With Psychic, you're also able to take out Nidoqueen, and you're also take out Toxicroak and Venusaur. So you're going to see the poison types are a lot more common in this cup than in Open Ultra League. Of course, the only con is that you pretty much will lose the mirror against a lot of dark types, i.e. like Mandibuzz XL, as you see here, or Alolan Muk. So get it because poison type meta is a lot more prevalent in Ultra Premier Cup. Definitely in the 2 shield, Umbreon XL is definitely something worth considering. Alright, so we analyzed the 2 shield. As you see, Umbreon has a safe switch, which is really good, and it's able to take on the poison type meta a lot more frequent. And we're gonna hit as you see, I'm gonna hit the 1 shield. In the 1 shield, it gets a little more interesting. So in the 1 shield, well, not really, it's pretty much the same. It gets a little more interesting just because, as you see with a level 51, you can flip Magnezone. Mandibuzz, of course, with the mirror, you do beat it with Last Resort, assuming this Mandibuzz doesn't have Air Slash. Outside of that, it's only really interesting because, as you see, Toxicroak or Venusaur, the only thing you really beat are the poison types. So not really super interesting, but it's a little interesting. Because you can see Toxic as well as Venusaur a lot more in the one shield. Yeah, but it's a lot more. Well, you could either catch in the lead or it's most likely it's going to be in the back. But as you see in the one shield, not too much of a difference. Very little interest. I say it's a little interesting just because, you know, being able to beat Venusaur in the one shield or in the two shield is always a good thing, especially when you're using Umbreon, because Frenzy Plant hurts a lot. Alright, and then we have the closer. So the zeros actually isn't super interesting, but Psychic Umbreon does flip a few things. Not a lot. So as you see, I already ran the zeros, and you're able to flip Blaziken in the zeros. That's pretty much, I think, the only difference in the closer from what I remember when I did the pre-analysis. Blaziken, you're able to flip in the closer. You're also, that's pretty much it. Other than Blaziken, then the other poison types, there's not really much anything notable about Umbreon that you're not going to just straight foul play to death anyways. In the 1-0s, you can beat Machamp. So if you go to the 1-0s, you do flip the matchup against Machamp just because it's not able to cross-chop you to death. You'll still beat Blaziken. You could also beat Machamp as you see here. Machamp will go down. And along with that, you could also take out Poliwrath. So in the 1-0s, you're able to flip a few fighter matchups, but that's pretty much it. You're going to beat the poison types, of course. In the 2-0, Psychic Umbreon versus Last Resort Umbreon, generally the same thing. With the section of the... Okay, so this is actually really interesting. If you're in the 1-0s, you can actually... So if you're the one... This is something that I should really... Like, I'm going to go back to this real quick. If you get the mirror match against other Umbreons, you can actually beat... You know, well, like... Well, not 1-0s, but 2-0s here. 2-0s, not 1-0s. So in the 2-0s, you can actually beat Umbreon. Now this is a really tall task, but if you have a 2-0 advantage, you can actually beat an opposing Umbreon straight foul play. But that's with 2-0s. This is unlikely not going to happen. I just thought it was really funny that you could do that because of not having Last Resort. Because whoever has Last Resort in the mirror and whoever wins CMP most likely will win that matchup if you can't get Snarls through. But again, in the 1-0s, 2-0s, it's pretty much the fighting archetype. Machamp, Poliwrath to be the main ones that you actually flip. 2-1, still the same thing. Not too much a difference if you do have shield advantage. You beat generally what you're supposed to beat. The only things you actually flip are going to be, well, against you, that's going to flip is going to be the dark types as usual, which is like basically Mandibuzz. Other than that, you will beat the poison types as you see here. And again, unless you have Last Resort, you're not going to have a great time against the dark types. But generally, unless it's the 1-0s or 2-0s, Umbreon with Psychic doesn't make too much of a difference outside of already beating the poison types. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I went through this one a little quickly just because, in a nutshell, as you see here, the Ultra Premier Cup, it's mostly the things you flip for the most part are basically the new poison type meta. Nidoqueen XL as well as mainly Dragaggle XL has been a lot more prominent lately just because of the buff, and rightfully so. More so for the Dragon Tail debuff rather than the... more so for the Dragon Tail debuff rather than the Poison type debuff, because Dragon Tail buffed is actually very, very powerful over time. But as you see with Umbreon, you're able to flip it with Psychic. Now, is it really worth building a second Umbreon for Ultra Premier Cup? It's really up to you, because the thing about it is with Ultra Premier Cup, you still run the risk of seeing Umbreon XLs as well as Mandibuzz XLs and Alolan Mucks, basically dark types. And of course, the ever popular Obstagoon, where if you don't have Last Resort, you are probably going to likely die just because you're gonna basically Obstagoon will resist both Snarl and basically, well, in a nutshell, a Walu, just because it resists Psychic and it also resists Foul Play, unless it's like literally like almost dead, like you threw everything including the kitchen sink at it, so literally it's gonna take one Foul Play before you KO this Obstagoon. But it's really up to you. If you want my opinion about it, I think it's a lot better to have Psychic for the sheer reason that you do flip the fighting types. You are able to flip Blaziken, you are able to flip Poliwrath and Machamp if you have shield advantage in the 1-0s, or if you have energy lead in or if you have energy lead in the closer or the 2-0. So there is a way to flip the fighting matchup. So with that combination, I would say yes, but also it really is up to you. Because, again, investing in another Umbreon XL is very expensive. So it's a nice to have, but is an absolute necessity? Not really. So again, totally up to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned a bit. Again, it's the poison types and the fighters that really flip in Ultra Premier Cup, but it's really up to you because regular Umbreon, like I said, still works. Psychic Umbreon also works, but it's going to change the dynamics of how you play your team and just how you really play Umbreon in certain scenarios. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It's totally free. You could easily subscribe by putting your mouse over that little box at the bottom right that says subscribe, and then it could easily you can easily subscribe using the tab that pops up. Really helps for my goal of 3K subs, and it's totally free. For those of you who already subscribed, I really do appreciate you. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.